Broadcasts of HIKI NŌ are made possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo, and by Bank of Hawaii Foundation, investing in Hawaii's future by promoting collaboration, critical thinking, and other 21st century skills through HIKI NŌ.
Next on HIKI NŌ, stories from across our island chain.
Agriculture has been a part of my family for a long time. I just had it in my blood. I wanted to go back to farming.
A retired IT professional embraces the family tradition in a modern way.
Hawaii's youngest beekeeper does his best to help preserve the state's dwindling bee population,
while a group of preservationists do their best to preserve indigenous plants of Hawaii.
And a young woman mends her once broken relationship with her recovered meth addict father.
Learn how to make slime and have a blast with it.
Explore the fascinating world of cosplay.
And me, a marching band sax player who struggles to get things straight.
All on this episode of HIKI NŌ, coming to you from Kailua Intermediate School, home of the Hawks. That's next on the nation's first statewide student news network, HIKI NŌ Can Do. We're here on the campus of Kailua Intermediate School, located on the west side of Hawaii Island in Kailua Kona. Close to 700 students attend our campus, grades 6th through 8th. Our campus can be found at the end of Onipa'a Street. Onipa'a is translated to mean steadfast, set solid, and immovable. Onipa'a was part of Queen Liliuokalani's motto, E Onipa'a I ka imi na'aua'u. This can be interpreted as, be steadfast in the seeking of knowledge. Through our caring teachers, a variety of classes, and diverse student body, we continue to remain steadfast at Kealakahe in seeking knowledge and skills needed to live in an ever-changing world. Our first story takes us to the Valley Isle, where students at Maui Waena Intermediate School tell the story of a man who had a desk job and now embraces his family's tradition of farming.
Well, the recyclers.
My name is Larry Yonashiro, and I'm an urban farmer providing certified organic produce from my aquaponic farm in my backyard.
Larry and Patty Yonashiro began an urban style of farming called aquaponics 8 years ago with a vision to provide fresh, locally grown produce and to promote the aquaponic industry. While many people farm to earn a living, Mr. Yonashiro, a veteran IT worker, started this new beginning to bring back the roots of his past.
I was getting close to retirement from my regular job, which I spent 30 years doing. I wanted to be outside because I was raised in Hawaii. I was raised in a plantation camp. My father was a sharecropper. They used to grow pineapples. And so, agriculture has been a part of my family for a long time. I just had it in my blood. I wanted to go back to farming. Because I've been in an air-conditioned room for 30 years, I wasn't used to the back-breaking work of farming in the soil, which is really hard work. And I was looking for an easy way to farm. And to think that I could raise fish and grow vegetables in my backyard, it was just amazing. I think a lot of people in Hawaii would like to do that. Just to walk outside in your backyard, work out in the sunshine and fresh air. Feed the fishes who come up to you and they look at you in the face and you're feeding them. And you see these plants thriving because fish water is one of the best fertilizers for plants. And just having a lot of greenery and nature and being outside in the sunshine is a real plus. That's why I do it. As anyone who's tried it knows that there's a lot of experimentation and a lot of problems. So the first few years, I say 3 years, was learning, making mistakes and correcting them. So basically, and we're still learning. It's something that we're constantly learning, and it's a lot of fun.
Despite the challenges that come with this lifestyle, his family is always there to lend a hand.
One person is really hard to do it, by yourself. For me, I'm really fortunate to have my wife who supports it, really supports what I'm doing. I wouldn't be able to do it without her support. And it's also good that you have more than one person, because when you're just thinking through solutions by yourself, you kind of get locked in because you're the only person that you can talk to, right? But if you have another person to talk to, it clarifies the solution. And with the addition of my daughter who just came over, her background is food science, so she has a lot of, and quality control. So all of her background adds to what we're trying to do here. So the more people in the family that comes down to help, the better.
And with the help of his family, Larry hopes to accomplish his end goal of contributing to and growing the aquaponic industry to provide enough locally grown food to sustain the island of Maui.
To perfect or to improve the utilization of the concept of aquaponics, to try and make that more mainstream. Right now it's such a novelty. A lot of people do it in different ways, and a lot of people have strong opinions about how to do this versus how they're doing it. So to make this type of farming more acceptable to the community, because being a small farm, we need a lot of farmers doing what we're doing to supply enough food for the community on this island.
Not only has this local farm grown fresh produce, but it's also grown a family and community. This is Hannah Okamoto from Maui Waena Intermediate School for HIKI NŌ.
HIKI NŌ is now on Instagram. For show updates and a peek behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram at HIKI NŌ Can Do.
Our next story takes us to Manoa District of Oahu, where students at Punahou School introduce us to Hawaii's youngest practitioner of a very sweet profession.
Dakota Miller, a freshman at Punahou School, spends his time caring for over 30,000 bees, making him the youngest beekeeper in Hawaii.
A few years ago, in 2009, we met this guy at a farmer's market. His name was Howard McGinnis, and he offered to take us out beekeeping. And we went out to his hives, and he showed us how to beekeep. And after a few times of going out with him to his hives, he then offered us a hive in our backyard, and we said, sure, we'll take one. And that's basically how we got started.
One of the benefits of beekeeping is, of course, the honey. You can often find Dakota and his father, Keith Miller, working side by side, harvesting their honey.
To collect the honey, first we have to take the super off the hive. Then we take the frames out, take the cappings off the frames, which is the wax of the honey, and spin out all of the honey. And then we drain it out into a bucket and filter it, and then we put it in bottles and they put the frames back on the hive for the bees to build more honey on. Most of the time we just sell it to family and friends, but once a year we normally sell it at the Honey Festival, which for the past few years has been at Senator Fong's plantation.
Dakota's concern for Hawaii's dwindling bee population is a significant reason why he invests so much time and effort into caring for these bees.
I'm concerned about the bee population in Hawaii because probably about 90% of the wild beehives in Hawaii have been killed off by either the varroa mite or the small hive beetle, and that's not good for the environment or crops. Bees pollinate almost 2/3 of our food crops and a lot of other plants that make up the forest. We're propagating bees by making more beehives and helping put more bees in our area, because they can fly up to 5 miles in any direction from the hive, so that's a lot of bees to go around. When the bees need more space in their hive, they swarm and move to a new location with a new queen. Sometimes people don't want beehives in their house. They call an exterminator because they think the bees are going to attack them. So what we do is we come in, we save the bees and give them a new home in a safe place. Beekeeping makes me feel happy, and I'm pretty proud of being the youngest beekeeper in Hawaii because it's an interesting thing and it's fun to beekeep and watch how your hives change and watching the bees grow.
Although maintaining the hives requires work and dedication, for Dakota, protecting Hawaii's bees and helping to preserve their place in our ecosystem is his sweet reward. This is Elena Kobayashi from Punahou School for HIKI NŌ.
We're back in Kailua Kona on Hawaii Island on the campus of Kailua Kona Intermediate School, home of the Hawaiian hawk or io. In Hawaiian, the hawk or io is rooted to the word iolani, meaning royalty. Just as hawks majestically soar through the sky, We, as students, do our best to strive to meet the expectations of being responsible, respectful, and problem solvers.
We return now to Oahu, where students from Roosevelt High School explore a very special patch of land where native Hawaiian plants and knowledge flourish.
When outsiders think of Hawaii, they likely think of tropical palm trees, coconuts, and succulent pineapples. But what they might not know is the history of Hawaiian plants and the impact they have on its culture. In the midst of development, few have maintained the importance of Hawaii's flora. On the island of Oahu in Kaneohe, Papahana Kua'ola, a Malama Aina-based nonprofit organization, is actively contributing to the preservation of Hawaiian plants.
We pretty much try and transform land back to Aina. You know, we try and transform the land that we see back into a usable space, not only for people, but also for the other plants and other animals and insects that could utilize the plants that we put into the ground.
Their projects include the preservation of sacred land, educating the public on culture, ridding the area of invasive plant life, and raising awareness about Hawaii's invasive and endangered species problems.
Right now we're known as the endangered species capital of the world, and we're known for all these things going extinct, and we're losing so many things. So it all sounds bad, but then you get to places like this and elsewhere with just communities saying, no, we can have a better future.
Another way that Papahana Kua'ola preserves Hawaiian culture is through traditional means, such as the use of chant.
Every single plant would have a Hawaiian name, a Hawaiian use. It's an amazing thing, the knowledge that Hawaiians hold in the Oli and in the Mo'olelo about every single plant that's in the Hawaiian universe. You can find it there. That's why when people think about Hawaiian plants, they should stop thinking about only the plants that were brought in on the canoes, because the whole plant world, from ocean to the top of the mountain, was celebrated in some way and used.
Papahana Kua'ola and the passing down of chant have had a powerful effect on the preservation of culture. But citizens of Hawaii can also do their part to help.
You have to think about Hawaiian culture as having its roots way in the past, and yet still a living culture and moving forward into the future. There are certain things that require very serious research to make sure that what you are learning has its roots way back in the past. You cannot just make stuff up.
You know, to preserve the Hawaiian culture, I think the easiest thing to do is to just try and live it. You know, you don't have to go out and you know, learn to speak fluent Hawaiian and have to dance hula or have to practice lua or have to, you know, it's just one component of that would be good, or just being respectful to the land and basically understanding the land of that which you live.
If we can maintain the true Hawaiian roots, maybe the flower that is Hawaii can blossom. This is Victor New from Roosevelt High School for HIKI NŌ.
We're back at Kailua Intermediate School on the west side of Hawaii in Kailua Kona. I am sure that you've heard the phrase that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but in our campus, it would be more appropriate to say that a mural is worth 1,000 words. On every one of our buildings, you will discover beautiful murals, hand-drawn and painted by our very own students. These murals were not created overnight, but rather throughout the years of our Uplink program, an after-school and summer school program focused on enrichment activities. They represent more than just colors and images. They remind us of positive messages, inspiration, loyalty, and pride. Our next story takes us to the island of Maui, where students at H.P. Baldwin High School introduce us to a young woman who uses traumatic experiences from her past to help others.
Baldwin High School senior Michaela Wandell is a lot like her dad. They share a sense of humor and positive outlook on life, but that wasn't always the case.
My father became addicted to meth before I was ever born, so he'd already been suffering for a while when I came into the world.
Growing up, Michaela's life was anything but normal. Having a father who was addicted to crystal methamphetamine meant Michaela didn't see much of him as a child.
Growing up with a father addicted to meth was, of course, difficult because he was consumed with his addiction and he wasn't necessarily able to support me and my brother. When my dad went to jail for the first time, Me and my brother moved in with our grandparents, and they're the people who raised me, and without them, I don't know where I would have been.
At one point, drug addiction even caused Michaela's father to live on the streets. But when Michaela was 10 years old, he became clean, and over the years, they were able to rebuild their relationship.
He's a totally different person. He's my dad now, and so I'm able to talk to him about anything and joke around, and I can actually spend time with my father now.
Michaela's unusual childhood has inspired her to give back to people going through rough times.
I volunteer at places like the Hawaiian Meth Project, where I do meth outreach, and then at Feed My Sheep, because my father was homeless for a period of time when I was growing up, and so it's my way of giving back to people who are in the same situation.
Michaela also realized that she could use her story to inspire others. She was invited to speak at TEDx Youth at Seabury Hall.
My message was that no matter where you come from, you're still able to do whatever you want.
Don't listen to these statistical profiles that you should be anything else than what you want to be, because you can do it.
A student there who had never really heard this came up to me afterwards and was he was in tears, and he was thank you for telling me that, because I've never heard that before. And it really touched me because I was able to help someone else be inspired to believe in themselves, and it was a really important moment for me.
Michaela plans to continue inspiring others by sharing her story. She says she achieved success by embracing her past, not ignoring it.
Those are all things I'm really proud of, and I wouldn't have done or found if it wasn't for those harder times as a child. So I wouldn't change anything about my life, and I think it's a happy life.
This has been Jessica Pressman from H.P. Baldwin High School for HIKI NŌ.
Next, students from Wheeler Middle School on Oahu show you how to make a slimy, squishy substance that can lead to hours of creative fun.
I'm so bored, I have nothing to do.
We bet you've heard that before. Are you looking for a way to keep your kids occupied? If so, we have a solution for you. We are going to show you one of the hottest trends to hit Wheeler Middle School's campus in 2017. No, it isn't a fidget spinner. We're going to show you how to make basic slime.
Slime is squishy, but it isn't sticky. Kids can squeeze it, poke it, swirl it, and make bubbles to pop in it.
Basic slime is easy to make. Here is a recipe we found on pbs.org. You'll need 4 ounces of white glue. We recommend Elmer's White School Glue. A teaspoon of borax found in the detergent section of your store. Warm water and food coloring, a bowl for mixing, and a second small bowl. First, squeeze the glue into a bowl. Add the food coloring in drop by drop until you get the color you want. Be careful not to spill any because the coloring stains. Mix 1 teaspoon of borax and 1/2 cup of warm water in your second bowl. Then slowly add the solution to the glue mixture. Stir until the slime becomes thicker and starts to stick to your spoon. It's okay if you don't use all of the borax solution. Knead the slime. At first, it'll be really wet and gooey, then stringy and sloppy until finally it will hold together. If you have sensitive skin, you can find recipes that use cornstarch or baking soda instead. My classmates and I have never had skin irritation. Ew! If you find your slime too sticky, add more borax. If it is too dry, add more water. Keep your slime in an airtight plastic container. If you need a temporary container, a sandwich bag will work. Don't drop it on the floor. It'll pick up everything, and it'll get gross. Fur is the worst. Believe us, we know from experience.
Slime doesn't take long to make and would be a fun activity to do with your family on the weekend or even after school. When you're done, everyone will have something to keep themselves occupied for hours.
This is Megan Clark reporting from Wheeler Middle School for HIKI NŌ.
We take you now to the Hilo district of Hawaii Island, where students at Waiakea High School delve into the allure of a highly imaginative obsession.
I'm a very quiet person. I just don't like to talk. But I feel like I just completely change when I go in costume.
Some people only dress up for Halloween, but for cosplayers, this type of transformation is simply a part of who they are.
I'm suddenly able to go out and talk to people and, maybe act a bit in character or, take pictures with people or help people out with something. I don't know. It's really great that I'm just finally able to talk to the world.
Waiakea High School students Kai and Denali Davis have been cosplaying for a few years now. Cosplay or costume play is the act of dressing up as characters from books, movies, TV, video games, or even simple imagination. Dressing up may seem like a simple hobby, but there's a lot more to being a cosplayer.
Cosplay has helped us make friends in ways that we didn't really expect. It started off with me and like, I don't know, 3 or 4 friends just like, hey, let's make a costume together. Like, let's coordinate our costumes, cool. And this should be fun. And once we did that, we ended up going outside and wearing our costumes in public, and we got a lot of weird looks, but we ended up making some friends, and cosplay has really helped us like break out of our shell. So this is something I've been working on for the upcoming convention, and it's just made out of an old, the old front of a TV, and I got these tubes from the transfer station, and I just spray painted them.
So there's the usual places of getting stuff, you know, the store or
like Walmart or something.
Yeah, Walmart or like Salvation Army, you know, like thrift stores. And then there's like some more unusual places like the recycling center. I've used caulk, and I've used an old hiking backpack and totally cut that up just to hold a pair of wings. Yeah, I've used some weird stuff, like half a pound of feathers.
Aside from one annual convention, there aren't many opportunities to cosplay on the Big Island, but Kai and Denali are hoping to change that.
Anyone can cosplay. Like, it's not bound by gender or sexual orientation or, you know, your size. Like, you could be like 12 feet tall or, you know, like 7,000 pounds.
They encourage more people to embrace their inner superhero, one costume at a time. This is Poina Levi from Waiakea High School for HIKI NŌ.
We're back at Kailua Intermediate School, home of the Hawks, on Hawaii Island. When you step onto our campus, you might see and hear the normal hustle and bustle of students going to class and going to PE. But beyond the normal chaos, you'll hear the rhythmic and beautiful melodies of our ukulele and chorus ensemble.
Whatever you produce should be the best quality that you can come up with, rather than just do it because she asked for it, but do it because you know that by finishing it the best way you can, you make yourself that much more ready for the next lesson.
Miss Wan's dedication to her students and craft has definitely made a difference on our campus and within our community. Our final story takes us to Kahului, where students from Maui High School introduce us to a young woman who struggles with a spinal condition known as scoliosis.
I collect souvenir pennies, I like baking, I like pets, and I like to take care of children.
15-year-old Maui High School sophomore Tali Nakamura shines with smiles and laughter, but playing her saxophone is indeed what makes her heart sing. Being only a sophomore and a section leader, Tali maintains her tempo with her sense of humor.
Some people think I'm a band geek, but I don't think I'm a band geek, but I love band.
She's a pain in the butt. Artistic. Happy most of the time. Very talented, very lazy. Did I say happy?
That's hard.
But pain is something Tali is too familiar with.
When I found out I had scoliosis, I often cried a lot about the thought that I would have to quit band.
Tali is not the only one facing a hard turn.
It worries us in the sense that how is it going to affect the rest of her life? Is it going to limit her capabilities? How is she going to live with pain? You know, it concerns everybody.
But Tali's love for music is what motivates her to march out of bed every morning.
When I wake up, sometimes the pain, it hurts so much. I just don't want to get out of bed, but I'm forced to because I have to go to school and go to band rehearsal.
As a leader, she feels a sense of responsibility to the team.
It's very important that if I'm not there, there would be an empty spot on the field.
Tally's spot in the show may not be the only thing creating misalignment. With a 37-degree curve, she suffers from a moderate to severe type of scoliosis.
This one's even higher than this one. The pain is more like an ache because it pushes all my muscles to one spot.
Tally's back takes a beating with the long and strenuous practices, but it's the performances that relieve her pain.
After the halftime whistle, my heart starts pumping and then the drum solo starts and then all of the nervousness just goes away and I just perform. I don't really think about the pain in my back. Oh wait, no, I'm right there. My doctor said that if my back doesn't get better by April, I would have to quit band.
To help reposition her back, Tally remains disciplined and conditions frequently.
My spine is getting better because I do yoga and go on the gravity inverter to stretch my spine out. It's sore.
By keeping her rhythm, Tally will continue to reach for full recovery. This is Rachel Andrada from Maui High School for HIKI NŌ.
Hey! Now, we've come to the end of this episode of HIKI NŌ.
Remember, all of these stories were written, shot, and edited by students like us.
We hope you enjoyed the beautiful stories from our beautiful island homes.
Tune in next week for more stories shared by Hawaii's Keiki. HIKI NŌ can do!
Broadcasts of HIKI NŌ are made possible by the support of viewers like you. Mahalo. And by Bank of Hawaii Foundation, investing in Hawaii's future by promoting collaboration, critical thinking, and other 21st century skills through HIKI NŌ.